Have you ever wondered why, at 50 or 60, we suddenly begin to lose the inner sharpness we had at 30? It's not just fatigue. Imagine an old family garden. If you stop tending it, the paths become overgrown with weeds, and the once clear views become hazy. So it is with our brains. We're used to thinking that forgotten keys or a neighbor's name are the inevitable price of living. But in my 30 years of practice, I've seen hundreds of people who, at 80, were quicker than 40-year-olds, and the secret to their eternal spring in their heads began not at the drugstore, but in their own kitchen. At precisely 8 o'clock a.m. Many of you now feel this light haze in the mornings. You get up, but you forget to wake up. It seems like your brain is working at half capacity, like an old radio that can't seem to get a clear signal. I'm here to tell you this is fixable, and fixable much faster than you think. In just 7 days, we can get your neurons firing again. Today, I'll share with you 3 foods that should become the foundation of your breakfast. If you want to maintain mental clarity into old age, one of them is rarely talked about by nutritionists, but which literally repairs damaged brain cells. I've saved this secret for the end of our conversation because without understanding the first steps, it won't work to its full potential. Before we go any further down this important path, I want to ask you if you resonate with what I'm saying. If you also value life and want to live it with a healthy mind, please like this video. It will help others your age see this information. And be sure to subscribe to my channel. We're not just treating symptoms here. We're building a culture of longevity based on experience and common sense. Why is this important now? After 50, our brain changes its energy policy. It becomes more capricious, more sensitive to inflammation. Foods that flew by in our youth now become a burden. Have you noticed how after a regular sausage sandwich or sweet porridge, you feel sleepy an hour later? This is your brain signaling hunger, even though your stomach is full. It's not asking for calories but for sparks. I often remember one of my patients, Maria Sergeyevna. At 62, she came to me complaining of brain fog. She said, "Doctor, I read a page and forget the beginning." We didn't take any expensive nootropa pills. We simply rewatched her morning, and a week later she called me with a voice that had regained its life. She hadn't just remembered what she had read. She had started learning poetry again. I want to ask you right now, when was the last time you felt your head working like a Swiss watch, clear, crisp, without pauses? Write about it. Remember this feeling, because it is to this that we will return. Many people make the same mistake. They try to jog their sleepy brains with sugar or an extra cup of coffee, but that's like whipping a tired horse. It will run 100 meters and then collapse. We need to feed this horse so that it itself wants to run and skip, and the first element of our breakfast, which we'll talk about now, isn't just food, it's a true building block for the membranes of your nerve cells. Without it, no amount of memory training will yield any results because the signal simply has nowhere to go. So this conductor, without which our thoughts get tangled like old threads in a sewing basket, is the right fats. In particular, those found in a seemingly ordinary chicken egg, but cooked in a certain way. Many of you have avoided eggs for years, fearing the notorious cholesterol. As a doctor with many years of practice, I will dispel this myth, which has literally deadened the brains of an entire generation. Your brain is 60% fat. Imagine that. It's the fattest organ in your body. And when we switch to low-fat cottage cheese or by drinking empty porridges on water, we effectively starve our intellect. Egg yolks contain a unique substance called halin. It's a precursor to the main transmitter of nerve impulses. If you don't have enough of it, you start to freeze. You enter a room and painfully remember, why did I come here? A familiar feeling. It's not old age, it's a halin deficiency. I remember my patient, Viktor Ivanovich, an engineering professor. At 70, he began complaining that he couldn't concentrate on drawings for more than 15 minutes. He eliminated everything from his diet. We reintroduced 2 soft-boiled eggs to his breakfast daily. 2 weeks later, he came to me and said, "You know, doctor, the fog has cleared. I can see the structure of the project again as a whole, not in pieces." Why? Soft-boiled? Because the lecithin and choline in the liquid yolk are absorbed by our neurons almost instantly, without requiring the body to expend colossal effort to digest. But there's an important nuance here. Eggs are just the base, the foundation. For them to work on brain rejuvenation, we need to protect these delicate fats from oxidation. After 50 liters, so-called biological waste accumulates in our body. Free radicals, they literally gnaw through the membranes of nerve cells. And if we give the brain only building material, fats, but don't provide protection, there will be no effect. Therefore, the second essential element of your breakfast should be a handful of dark berries. Or a spoonful of high-quality walnut herbic. Why is this critical? The dark pigments of berries, anthocyanins, and walnut oil contain substances that act like microscopic shields. They prevent brain cells from rusting. Studies show that people who regularly consume these products have a cognitive age 5 to 7 years younger than their chronological age. Let's agree, tomorrow morning you won't just eat your usual sandwich, you'll cook 2 eggs with the yolks still runny and add to them literally 3 or 4 walnut halves. It'll take you 5 minutes, but your brain will say, thanks, it's already lunchtime. You'll feel your concentration sharper, and the irritability that often accompanies mental fatigue has disappeared. Try doing this for exactly 7 days. This isn't a diet, it's food therapy. You'll notice how the world around you becomes a little brighter and sounds clearer. This is a sign that the neurons are starting to receive high-quality nutrition. However, nourishing the cell and protecting it is only half the battle. There's another huge problem that people face in middle age. This is the viscosity of thought when it seems as if information is coming in. It's stuck in thick syrup, and here we come to the third product, which many consider simply an additive to tea, but for the brain it is a real jet engine, clearing blood vessels and accelerating blood flow. Without it, the first 2 elements would be delivered to the cells too slowly, but we need energy to burst forth instantly. Soon as you open your eyes, and here we come to that very jet engine that makes the blood not just flow, but literally bathe every cell of your brain with a fresh dose of oxygen. This is the third element, natural cocoa or a piece of dark chocolate with a cocoa content of at least 85%. But don't confuse this with instant sweet drinks from boxes, which contain more sugar than nutrition. I'm talking about a pure product rich in flavonols. Why is this critically important after 50? As we age, our blood vessels become less elastic. They narrow, lose flexibility, and the brain has to literally push nutrients through the narrow capillaries. This is where that heavy-headed feeling comes from, when you wake up and the back of your head feels like it's filled with lead. Cocoa flavonols have a unique ability. They relax the blood vessel walls and increase blood flow to precisely those areas of the brain responsible for memory and quick reaction times. I had a case from my practice that I often share with my colleagues. Elena Nikolaevna, a former librarian, came to me immediately after those soft-boiled eggs. A week later, she came home radiant. She said, "Doctor, the words started coming on their own, without effort. It's not a miracle, it's physics and biology. When the blood vessels dilated, the debris accumulated overnight was washed out, and the nutrients from the egg yolk and nuts instantly reached their destination. This is the very same living water they wrote about in fairy tales, only in your cup. I recommend you try one little trick for tomorrow. When you prepare your breakfast, add a pinch of cinnamon to the cocoa. It gently regulates blood sugar levels, preventing them from spiking. After all, sharp spikes in sugar are the main enemies of your neurons. They literally scorch the delicate connections between them. Try this breakfast for at least a week. First, eggs for structure, then berries or nuts for protection, and finally, cocoa for speed. You will feel how a forgotten something awakens inside vigor, not nervous, like from too much caffeine, but a calm, confident strength. But my dears, even the most ideal combination of products won't work 100% if we don't take into account one fundamental law of how our body functions in adulthood. There is something we do every morning unconsciously, and this action can either triple the effect of our breakfast or completely negate it. Many of you have been making this mistake for years, thinking you're helping yourself wake up, but in reality you're blocking oxygen supply to the very cells we just fed. And now I want to talk about how to properly activate the flow of life in the body so that food turns into thought energy and not into extra pounds, Natalia. This point I'm talking about often escapes our attention because it seems too simple. We have become accustomed to seeking salvation in complex schemes. Share warmth with loved ones, not being a burden but remaining a source of strength and support for them. And this source starts with a small cup of cocoa and a proper breakfast. If this conversation was helpful to you, if you felt in my words the support I wanted to convey, share this video with your loved ones, with your friends, peers. Let's create a circle of people who choose a conscious and bright longevity. I believe in you. I have seen with my own eyes how people are transformed simply by changing their attitude toward their morning. May your head always be clear and your heart calm. Take action tomorrow and you will be amazed at what your brain is capable of when it is finally truly heard.